We're about halfway through spring ball as we eye the spring game on April 19th, the 27th, if you're only going to watch on TV. Good luck to those who that's the only way that you can see it. But with that in mind, I feel like with the things that we know, we can kind of reset the board. And I'm taking a look at what I think the depth chart looks like as of current, but I'm going to add in a couple of the players that are either not here yet. Obviously, there's the one injury. Let's talk about all of that on this episode of Locked On Wolverines.
You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Tuesday. We are back and doing it. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I'm your man on the ground, Isaiah Hole, publisher of Wolverines Wire through USA Today Sports Media Group. So I wrote this up on Wolverines Wire, so let's talk through where do I see the depth chart being? Who do I think the starters are across the board? We got to retool it because we did this right before spring, and I'm already changing a lot of things here. Starting with quarterback. As of right now, I'm completely changing my tune from where it was even a week ago, since we have since learned Mikey Keene has not been practicing from what I've heard from multiple people. Secondhand, right? Again, I want to clarify my sources are not the ones inside the building at the moment, right? Like I'll tell you when I'm getting something more that's closely linked. Not the case here. Mikey Keene has not been practicing. Bryce Underwood and Jadyn Davis have been the two who have really been getting the reps. And obviously Davis Warren isn't going. So I have changed it up. I have Bryce Underwood as my day one starter. I think that will stick because even if Mikey Keene can't get it together to practice in spring ball, despite all of his experience, giving Bryce this much time on task with the ones, I just don't think he's going to be overtaken. Again, I'll ask for forgiveness compared to permission, but talking to Connor last night, he's like, yeah, it's going to be Bryce, right? Like he's just that good. It's kind of like what I said yesterday. Like junior Bryce Underwood could have come in without knowing the playbook to last year's team, and the offense would have at least been middling. Could have been a college football playoff team last year if they had junior season Bryce Underwood, not even like a whole senior year. All of that. That tells you what kind of player he is, because that's not the type of thing that I would normally say. I would normally say that's just there's no way. It's going to be still a challenge, right? Like he's going to have to get used to the speed of the game, playing in front of bigger crowds, all that kind of stuff. That's all going to be new to him. But I have him as my starter. I have my backups as Jadyn Davis or Mikey Keene. Jadyn has, according to multiple people, really taken a big step forward. So there's that. Running back should be no surprise. We're not going to spend time on every position because, like, why should we really break this down that hard? Justice Haynes or Jordan Marshall as co-starters, and then Benjamin Hall is my current number 3. Micah Capano would probably be his biggest threat there, and I think he'll get time anyway. So that would be that. Fullback is entrenched. It's Ben Bredesen as the starter, Max Bredesen is the starter, and Jalen Hausmann as the backup. The question more so is, can Eli Owens wrest away some snaps from him, from Jalen, and get in there? And also there's the picture of Jalen Hausmann catching a touchdown. I know technically the fullback room is in the tight ends room. So, I mean, that could be an interesting new dimension that we see out of the Chip Lindsey offense. I'm really excited to see what happens there. Okay, that's that. Let's go tight end. I don't think, again, any surprise. Hogan Hansen, Marlon Klein as your starters. Zach Marshall and Brady Prescorn are my backups. Really, the only other option there is Deacon Tonielli, or Jalen Hausmann or Max Bredesen, right? Like they'll get time at tight end as well. But Deacon Tonielli, I asked very specifically about him to Marlon Klein, and he's like, yeah, so Brady Prescorn's doing really good. It's not really how that went, and he'd probably get really mad if he heard this. But that's not necessarily what happened, but it was like, I wanted to know very specifically about Brady Prescorn, and not Brady Prescorn, Deacon Tonielli. And instead, we just got like, all right, let's talk about all the guys. That's not usually like the greatest time. We don't like granted, he did that too when we asked about Bryce Underwood. He talked about Jadyn Davis. But no one's really been like, man, Deacon Tonielli's really taken a step forward. That kind of scares me a little bit about him. Just doesn't seem like he's doing a lot. So you want to see more there. I think the biggest change here comes the offensive line. Here's what I got. And I think that as of right now, this is your starting five. It certainly could change, especially with Lawrence Hattar coming in. From what it seems, based off of what we heard from Grant Newsome and just other intel that's out there, Evan Link at left tackle, Giovanni El-Hadi at left guard, center Greg Crippen, right guard Nathan Afobe, and right tackle Andrew Sprague. I think that's pretty much what it is at this point. Could Lawrence Hattar supplant one of the guards? That's a possibility. I don't think any of them behind them are going to supplant, aside from maybe Brady Norton has that possibility. So my backups now are Andrew Babalola at left tackle, left guard. Who did I have? Oh, Lawrence Hattar is my left guard. Jake Warnera is your center. Then Luke Hamilton as your right guard, and I had Brady Norton as your right tackle. Brady Norton's cross-training between tackle and guard, so he could do either. And so that's, even though he's undersized, like Grant Newsome said, he's got the strength there. That leaves us with wide receiver, and that to me, this is the one where it's the hardest to predict because, again, I don't think that the room we're talking about now is going to be the same room in a month. I just don't. I think that they're going to be aggressive in the transfer portal. And I think the transfer portal is, as you can see with basketball, it's different than it was, right? Like I think last year there just weren't a lot of options. I think there will be more options this time around at receiver. And but for now, I put 3 starters in. I have Donovan McCulley, Anthony Simpson, who's not on campus yet, but again is the most prolific in terms of yards and all of that from 2 years ago with UMass. That makes me think, and I want to look this up while we're talking here. And then I have Frederick Moore as the other one. So I think it will be interesting to see if who ends up being those guys, because it could be those 3, but it absolutely could be any number of guys. Like Donovan McCulley, I think is your closest to being like, yeah, that guy's going to end up starting. But outside of that, I don't know. So Anthony Simpson had 792 yards 2 years ago. And his best games, he had 400-yard games against Eastern Michigan, New Mexico, Toledo, and Connecticut. So it's not like he had that's not like, okay, it came against Ohio State or whatever. His worst game of the year, unfortunately, came against Penn State, 3 receptions for 2 yards. So not great. But he had a really good game at Auburn, 4 catches for 89 yards and a touchdown. So he is capable going up against a team like that. They played Liberty, who was ranked 25th at the time, 6 catches for 48 yards. And otherwise, they didn't play anyone that was really of note. Had a pretty bad game against Arkansas State in terms of 7 catches, but only 33 yards, 7 catches against Army for 36 yards. So anyway, I guess the question is the competition. I mean, going up against Auburn's DBs, no matter what you want to say about Auburn, that's going to be, that shows that he can do it. But then he goes up against Penn State and does nothing. So, but it is UMass. So that's what I think offensively. We'll do the entirety of the defense, and then we will kind of continue on from there. So let's do that here in just a moment. But before we do, ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place, so you stop managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery, and honestly, I still am. Although I have food delivery service with Factor anyway. Now I budget smarter and save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use Locked On College at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code Locked On College for half off your first year. All right, we're going to continue on here in just a moment, but before we do, imagine watching your favorite team live, feeling the energy of the crowd, and witnessing unforgettable moments. There's nothing like experiencing a big game in person. Getting tickets shouldn't be stressful. That's where Game Time comes in, making it easier than ever to grab last-minute seats at unbeatable prices. With Game Time Picks, their curation that they have there makes it easier to find better value for tickets to sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. You can check the Game Time app and you'll see there's amazing deals on any kind of huge matchups that you want to go see. We perused the Game Time app when it came to looking for Detroit Lions playoff tickets, and it was just much cheaper than you were hearing reported. And with their super deal, the lowest price guarantee, Game Time will actually credit you 110% of the difference. And with the seat views before you buy, no surprise fees, and the lowest price guarantee, you can book with total confidence. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. That's LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, let's continue on here. The defense feels even more entrenched in the offense. I think what's interesting, well, let's save those thoughts for the end. I love trying to get ahead of myself and use up a whole segment. Something that I plan on talking about later, I talk about now, and then before you know it, I'm like, I don't have anything to talk about later. So let's not do that. The defense is interesting because the way that I look at it, outside of defensive tackle, I think the rest of it is pretty close to set. Nickel may be the only other question. But let's start with the edges. Entrenched as starters, TJ Guy, Derek Moore, that's obvious. Behind them, Cam Brandt and Dom Nichols, obvious. I mean, again, you're going to see more players than these, right? You're going to see other guys get in. But barring injuries, unexpected departures through tampering and such, those are your starters and your backups at edge. The only question for me more so is defensive tackle. Who are the starters? But it kind of doesn't matter because you got 6 guys. So I ended up reverting and putting Trey Pierce along with Rayshawn Benny. Rayshawn Benny's a starter. It's a question of who's next to him. And I decided to kind of go back to, because we've just heard Trey's name mentioned a ton. I decided to go back to the duo that started in the Rely Quest Bowl and say that's going to be the duo. But it could be Ike Owana, Etta, Trey Williams, Damon Payne, any of those. But all 6 are going to play probably about equal time. Offenses are not going to enjoy that, I don't think. Your starting linebackers are Ernest, Hausmann, Jaishawn, Barham. I think we got a lot of good clarity from Lou Esposito yesterday. It's kind of what I've been saying all along. Jaishawn Barham's not like moving to edge, but they have a call for him to, in the formation, move up to edge when he's already at linebacker. So he's still a linebacker that will get more edge rushing opportunities out of that position. It's not that he's joined the edge room. He's still a linebacker, but he's going to get more opportunities to rush the quarterback. Backing them up, I ended up doing 4. You know that you're going to see Jimmy Rolder and Jaden Hood. I think you're also going to see Cole Sullivan and Troy Bowles. And then you might also see Nathaniel Owusu-Boateng. Again, entrenched starters. Safety, I included Rod Moore as a starter because he's going to be starting on August 30th, barring any more setbacks, assuming he can come back and be ready to go, which Sherwin Moore made it sound like that's certainly what's going to happen. Next to him, Brandon Hillman. I think that's not a surprise at all. Backups, I have Mason Curtis and Jaden Mangum. Mason obviously played a lot in the latter half of the season last year. Jaden Mangum didn't play at all, but multi-year starter at MSU. You'd think that he'd be able to come in strong. And because I didn't mention TJ Metcalf, I have him at nickel, and he was mentioned as the guy that at nickel there. And then they mentioned there was a litany of names that Zeke Berry mentioned behind him. I'm going to stick with Jaden McBurrows, who was the backup at nickel 2 years ago and then was injured all of last year. Can he stay healthy? That's the question. And then I look at other names like, could it be Metcalf's brother Tevis, however you want to say it? Could it be Jeremiah Lowe? According to Zeke Berry, there's 6 guys that are working out there, including himself. Cornerbacks, again, entrenched starters, Zeke Berry, Jair Hill, and then the backups, I have Josiah Edmond and Shamari Earls. And, I guess the question is it for sure going to be Shamari? But that's the room. We've talked about it quite a bit. does not really feel like it is like there's a lot of depth there, which is a little scary. They just don't have a ton of guys that I'm looking at and saying like, oh yeah, okay. That's the danger of losing like everyone you had from 2022 pretty much. Outside of Zeke Berry, was supposed to be a safety, right? Like you lost Cody Jones and Miles Pollard. They didn't really work out. And then you lose DJ Waller from the next year, who's supposed to be starting at this point. I think Shamari Earls absolutely has an opportunity to get on the field and go with that Will Johnson trajectory. The thing about Earls that impresses me, I remember seeing him as a recruit, and it's funny. I don't know if it's just like where I'm standing. I'm looking through a lens. I'm not really like, and he's walking in front of me, right? Like he's walking towards me and then they turn, right? Like, cause I'm standing out on the field when we're taking pictures of recruits. You know, like I'm standing probably about 15 yards back from where they turn. So I'm trying to get a close up. I'm not really looking. I see him walk into the facility the other day and it's like, he looks like he's 6'8". I mean, he's just huge. I mean, part of it's the hair. But I mean, I'm still, he is like, you wouldn't look at him and be like, well, that's going to be one of the, I don't even think he's that tall, right? I mean, obviously he's not 6'8", but I mean, he's listed at 6'2". He does not look 6'2". He looks more like 6'4", 6'5", just like Bryce Underwood. Bryce Underwood's listed at 6'4". He looks like he's 6'6". And I've been around Bryce quite a few times now. He looks like he's 6'6". He doesn't just look like he's 6'4". But having that length and that ability, it's going to be interesting to see what they're able to do in terms of using him as a corner, because it's just going to be hard for, like, he's going to be able to cover some of those taller guys. Zeke Berry did a great job against Ohio State and Alabama, so that's great. Not Josiah, but Jair had some really good games and some really bad games, and then so you just hope he can find that consistency. And then Josiah, a big question mark. They love him. You saw him a little bit against Illinois in particular. But then it's just a question of, like, can he also be consistent? We'll see. All right, final thoughts on the depth chart I just laid out. We'll do that here in just a moment. But before we do get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trade, Supply House, whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Well, Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trademaster program offers exclusive perks like dedicated phone lines, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are always taking advantage. Now is your turn. Join the Trademaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
All right, let's finish out here. Let's kind of give a rundown. Obviously, the behind the scenes. I didn't put this in the article, but I don't have the depth. I don't remember. Or actually, in ways we don't know. And obviously, they got like the long snapper backup. I who knows who's at some of these other positions. But I mean, you look at obviously the kickers, Dominic Zavada, punter. For now, at least, Hudson Hollenbeck. Don't know if they're going to go transfer portal to see if they can get someone else there or not. Long snapper Greg Tarr. Kick returner for now, I'll say Samaj and Jordan Marshall, kind of like what was supposed to be. But don't be surprised if that changes, right? It seems like every year you're like, yeah, I know who the returners are going to be. It's someone completely different. It's just how it kind of goes. Wouldn't mind if Amarian Walker is so fast, I wouldn't mind seeing him back there. But again, part of it is being able to track the ball, secure the ball, and then move with the ball, making the right call to call a fair catch and all that kind of stuff. Like it's not just speed. but I would love to see someone like him out there. I walked by him yesterday. I was walking out of Shem and he was walking in, and it's like, he's just so tall. You would love to see that work out, especially as they brought him back last year. I don't know. We'll see. So I think the interesting thing as we go through this, there are very few surprises, and it's kind of in some ways, and it's not surprising in sense of Michigan's 28th or 29th in returning production, that you kind of like defensively, it's like, okay, that's pretty much everybody minus a couple places that started in the bowl game. Offensively, it's not terribly different, right? Like the fact that I feel pretty confident that right now that's the starting five on the offensive line right now. Again, Lawrence Tatar might change some of those things. Someone might come out of summer conditioning and really just come on strong. I think in some ways you kind of don't want those surprises that you like Evan Link last year, where it was like, oh, because we all thought it was going to be like Gentry. We thought it was, that Gentry was certainly like in line to start at the right tackle, and we thought that Crippen eventually started at center, but it was there was one other player I can't remember right now. Raheem Anderson was another one I thought was going to be a little bit more of a factor than he ended up being. So you hope that it doesn't end up getting to that, because you just hope that the guys that you think are going to win it are going to win it. And right now I'm looking at, like I said, Link, El-Hadi, Crippen, Afobe, and Sprague, and I love that. I could put in Frazier. I mean, he was somewhere, but he was injured last year. Haven't really heard anything about him. He has the type of looking like that tackle. And I think the future is obviously bright for the offensive line. Haywood absolutely could get involved. Frazier could be the starting left tackle over Babalola. And you might the backups are where it's a little bit less certain right now. But as far as the starters, I think that's the place where you're like, okay, that's good. I think that you look at the wide receivers, that's easily the place where you're like, I don't know, because I don't even know what this is going to look like in a month. Right? The portal is going to open. They're going to have a week. I think that they probably have some ideas of some players. I've mentioned Skylar Bell. Does he dip back into the portal or not? I think that's all very interesting. And are there some other targets that are potentially on the board there? But otherwise, like tight end set, fullback set, running back set. EJ Holland reported they might look at another quarterback in the portal to back up Bryce. That's going to be a hard sell, because who's going to be like, yeah, I want to come and be a part of that room with, you already have Mikey Keene, unless Mikey Keene's just like, yeah, I just literally can't do it. I'm out. I think that's a hard sell. But I think now Bryce is kind of cementing himself as the starter right now. And you know what? I'm fine with that, because it's one thing when it's a competition, but now it's like, okay, just give him that ability and go against the ones defensively. Get the benefit of seeing what a complicated defense looks like. I understand it's not a college defense, but I think to go up against an NFL style defense now, if you're Bryce, I think that's great. And getting those reps. And by all accounts, Jadyn Davis has stepped up his game in a big way from the bowl game till now. So that's also huge. Cut his hair off too. Funny. It's interesting to even look at him. So I think that for the most part, everything's set. Defensively, it's set. Offensively, it's mostly set, I think. Again, there can be changes. But I think if you're in spring ball like you are now, and the fact that you're like, I think that we have a pretty good base for what this is going to be in terms of the players who are going to be the starters at the very least. And we just need to find other playmakers who can come in and spell them and have changes of pace or package deals and things of that nature. I think that's a great place to be. And, but we'll see, right? Like new offensive coordinator. We're not 100% sure what it's all going to look like. It's going to look like Michigan, but it's probably going to also have some changes. Defensively, we know what it looks like. We know what those players look like. As long as it's consistent and how it was basically from the second half of Indiana forward, that should be great. So I like where it is at the moment. I think that Michigan's in a really good spot. But that's going to do it for us today. We will be back on Wednesday. I think we have a press conference on Wednesday. They haven't, I don't know if we've got the notification. So if we do, we'll continue to talk spring ball, whatever the major themes coming off of that. So we'll do that tomorrow. So anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.